You know, when you run a university, you can run a country.
These are not actions of a leader who was threatening to arrest teachers, because how would I threaten to arrest them when, indeed, we had reached an agreement?
All the youth are ready to vote for me.
These are some of the statements made by presidential candidates at the country's inaugural televised debate held at the Serena Conference Center last Friday. Whereas the debate presented an opportunity for the candidates to sell their candidature, some of them were clearly ill-prepared to answer the questions put to them. Political commentators who are following the debate described some of the candidates' statements as false.
Uganda, at this moment, faces many challenges. 83% of our youth are unemployed, the highest figure in Uganda.
Amama Mbabazi stated that it was at 83%, and yet youth employment is at 53.4% as we speak. That does not make it any low of an issue, but I think it reduces on the exaggeration on the figure.
The revelations were made by a group of people who carried out a fact-checking exercise as the debate went on.
The presidential candidate Mavirizi's suggestion to export 1 million citizens every year in a bid to deal with the unemployment problem, that one, he did not necessarily look at the stats.
As a matter of fact, I've gone around the country. There is more tear gas at every single police post than there is medicine in any single hospital.
We come from a society that is highly charged, and there are certain things that society will want to hear. So I think there was more of what do the people want to hear than more of what is the actual vis-a-vis what are we going to present.
Take, for instance, a claim made by People's Development Party President Dr. Bedbwanika on his proposal to manage the country's debt.
Our debt to GDP ratio, the percentage is currently 36%.
According to Finance Ministry records, Uganda has a 33% debt to GDP ratio.
We must put a debt ceiling if we want to manage this debt.
The facts from the Ministry of Finance also indicate that there is already a debt ceiling at 50% as recommended by the East African community.
You could see that Dr. Besigye, for example, was more guarded in his use of statistics. It could also be because people have prepared that way to go down that route because they know that Ugandans just don't cross-check facts or don't read enough.
When the FDC's Kizza Besigye asked Amama Mbabazi to explain whether he knew about what he called the government's vote-rigging antics, Mbabazi feigned ignorance.
I have heard some stories about election rigging. I don't have any personal or direct knowledge of that rigging.
I want to ask you, Amera Penwu, to leave that job of protecting the vote to me.
In the past, Mbabazi has said he knows that elections are rigged in Kampala and that he's devising means to ensure that it's capped. Whereas that is not a direct indicator of his knowledge on the rigging, Chirunda says the inconsistencies are worrying.
Because in both the Besigye petitions in the Supreme Court, the court clearly said there were irregularities. So as a person who was in active politics at the time, as a person who was in government at the time, at top echelons of power, he cannot say he did not know these facts.
The most startling statement of the night was arguably the one made by Maureen Chalia, which suggested that Dr. Kizza Besigye's wife, Winnie Byanyima, is President Museveni's sister. Winnie Byanyima is a daughter of veteran Democratic politician Boniface Byanyima, who was a caretaker of President Museveni in his teenage years. One of the moments of truth arose when the moderator, Nancy Kachungira, asked any of the candidates whether they had seen the country's oil agreements. The silence in the room was loud.
Has anyone seen the share agreement?
He was the only person in government at the time, at least from those who were standing on the platform. And secondly, I think it is not reasonable to say that having been Prime Minister when these agreements were signed, or when these agreements came up in an investigation, a part of which his name actually did come up, he can honestly say he never saw the agreements.
Sharon Wuchire, NTV.